This kind of looks, fair to say this is the most talent you've had for one of these rookie face-off events, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And even development camp this year, it was a different feeling leaving that. There's some guys that are, very obviously very talented. There's some size, there's some speed. It's exciting.
Does that just raise everybody's level a little bit when there's so much talent a little bit, I guess, out there?
Yeah. That's kind of how it works. The other guys, bring their best. Everybody wants to be the best, right? It's training camp. People are trying to make a team. So kind of elevates, everybody's game.
Will and Shakir in particular, they talk about wanting to get stronger from Dev Camp and from last season. I assume that you watched them in Captain's Gates a little bit, and today, have you seen those they look stronger, and they say they're bigger, but have you seen those gains on the ice too?
Yeah, it's hard to tell really in the Captain's Gates. That's gonna happen, more in camp. But yeah, like you said, they're both bigger. They look like they put the time in. So looking forward to seeing them out there.
Anyone else stand out in that regard on your roster?
As far as size?
Yeah, just size or anything like that, just like they look different.
Yeah. Shakir would be one for sure. Other than that, I got to take a closer look. It's the first day today. It was light for us. They were, a lot of the weight room testing was today, and so we didn't stay out there very long. So, we'll find out more over the course of the week, I'd say.
Looked like Jake Furlong was in a yellow. Is it just going back to that shoulder injury that he had at the end of last season, just kind of taking it easy with him? Are you able to give an update on that front?
Yeah, it's part of his rehab to skate today. They had the physicals today, so I think we'll get some more after that.
For yourself, you've mentioned the talent and that coming in now. Just there was a lot of rotation in lineups last year in the rookie face-off. How do you tend to manage, guys like Celebrini and Smith, playing in these games? Do you intend to play them all three? Do you have an idea of what you're looking at for each game?
Yeah, we'll sit down and talk about it after each game. They're both playing the first game. And then kind of depends, what happens with the rest of the lineup and what happens with them. And then we'll sit down and talk about it and figure it out.
Having guys like Cardwell and Romanov and Shakir and Guriev to that extent too, just guys that have been around that you've worked with last season with Akuda. How much are you going to lean on them this weekend as kind of in-game leaders?
Yeah, and I think it's a good opportunity for them too, right? They've been the younger guys, so now they're on the older side, and I can rely on them to know the drills and to make sure people know what they're wearing on the plane, just little things like that. And it's almost like an audition for them.
What do you see from Cardwell? Obviously, he was one of the more consistent players for you last season. What is his ceiling?
He's one. He'd look bigger.
Oh, I thought you were pointing at me. Yeah.
What's his ceiling?
Yeah, what do you see his ceiling? Do you see him? Obviously, he was really good for you last year down in the A. And do you feel like there's a potential for him to really carve out an NHL role, maybe even as early as this season?
I think there's absolutely a chance. He's an NHL prospect. He works hard. And we saw that he has some talent last year, and he's just like everybody else that's here. He's fighting for a chance, to make the team.
What went into the decision for some guys to be here and not like Mukhamadullin being here? He's an older prospect, but like Askarov not being here or Bushin. Just what went to that general process for specific players?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure. I know there's restrictions on games played to play in the rookie tournament. I believe it's 100 pro games. Outside of that, that's I wasn't in those decisions.
Macklin's going to be playing his first game, I think, since the Frozen Four. Is everybody kind of just excited to see in a game? Everybody like you and the coaching staff, the front office, what's the excitement level like right now?
Yeah, it's huge excitement. It's you can see. As I already said, we didn't do a whole lot today, but you can see the talent. And you can also see the work ethic. He doesn't want to get off the ice. He's kind of hungry that way. So it's really exciting time for the organization.
It's kind of a first time in a while, maybe the first time since like Patty Marleau was on the team, that an 18-year-old kid is going to be on the NHL roster. Or at least that's kind of what the assumption is. I mean, who talks to him about just handling all that attention? Like, is there kind of a support network around here to kind of just help him to get through all this stuff? I
think it's everybody. Yeah, and then having people like Patty and Jumbo, and obviously, they're taking those kids in to live with them. None of us have been the number one overall pick. We don't know what it's like, so for those guys to know what it's like and to have gone through it, is a huge resource for those kids.
What did you think when you heard that news that he's going to live with Jumbo here? That's, knowing Jumbo as you do, what was your reaction?
Great. He's he's involved with the team, and he's around, and they can talk about hockey on their own and on their own time. It's almost like a huge development network, so I think it's great.
I know it's early, but do you have a sense of are you going to play Will and Macklin's together first game or separate them?
Together?
Yeah.
I don't think together,
Yeah.
but they'll both be playing.
Okay.
Not even on the power play?
Maybe.
How much do you kind of thought about your lines yet, or what you might who might play?
Kind of. I think we'll have them in practice tomorrow. We'll have the
Okay.
lines together. Like I said, today was more just get some touches and get your timing and everything, and then we'll put some lines together, and they'll be in practice tomorrow.
We were talking about Shakir earlier, but just what's going to be the biggest thing that allows him to become a full-time NHL defenseman? Obviously, he's got the raw talent, all the these tools. What's going to allow him to sort of make that next step in his career?
Yeah, just like anyone else, consistency and earning the coach's trust, right? As a young player, that's the best way to get yourself on the ice is earn the coach's trust. So, and you do that through consistency, right? And I think he did that really well for us last year at our level. So now he's got to prove that at the NHL level throughout this preseason, have all his details 100% stopping on pucks, and as he did for us last year, and now he just has to show that he can do it at the NHL level.
Sharks, they've got a lot of, Shakir is one of the top defensive prospects. And obviously they just drafted Dickinson, and you've got all these high-end forwards here. How important is it, do you think, for the organization, for Shakir, sort of develop into that, whether it's a middle pair guy, a top pair guy, whatever it is, just to make sure he becomes that, I guess?
Yeah, hugely important, and he's done all the right things, like we just talked about. He's a guy that you root for. He's a good kid. He listens. He's coachable. He's obviously got the size, the skating ability, the hands. So, like I said, it's on him to take the next step here, and we're gonna do everything we can to help him.
You mentioned with Jake Furlong that he's going to get evaluated today. There's a reasonable hope or expectation that he's ready for either Sharks training camp, the beginning of, or Barracuda training camp.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah, I haven't gotten confirmation, but from what I've seen, if I were to guess, I would say yes.
Is there any word on Chernyshov, if he's going to be coming to San Jose, or if he's here?
Yeah, he'll be coming. Again, that's an injury update. He's obviously not on the ice right now.
Right. Just getting back to the product, Will Smith is another guy. Obviously, he's got a lot of attention on him. How does he? So I don't know. He wants to crack the roster right away.
Yeah.
How does he go about doing that? What does he need to show? That trust thing, kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say not to like copy and paste my answer, but basically the same. And for younger players, that's key, right? Like obviously the offensive ability, the skill level, the flash is there, and now you gotta kind of work the other side of the ice, right, and prove that you can do that against bigger, stronger players. He did it in college, right, and he hasn't had a chance to do it in the NHL, but he's got to show that he can do that, right? Just like any other young player is. Do you work above pucks? Can you compete with the bigger, stronger bodies? That's going to be the biggest thing.
And if he doesn't make the team out of camp, kind of thing, I'm fair to say though, a half a season or a season in the American League wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing, right? I mean, just to kind of get more mature physically, that kind of thing. Would that be fair to say? Or?
Yeah, I mean, someone of his, where he's at and kind of where he was chosen and everything, I don't know. I think he has some upside, and it might, we'll have to see how he does at camp, I would say.
How much do you take out of these games this weekend? Obviously, development camp, we talk to guys, how they act off the ice, the way they do the process. But what do you take about this weekend, traveling with the team, and what goes into evaluating players this weekend?
So it's a little more hockey than the development camp. Like I said, development camp, but the ice, it's hard to evaluate. It's a lot of skill work. It's, you look at more of the habits and everything. And now I'd say it's kind of shifting more towards the on ice. They get some practices, some real practices like tomorrow. They'll get a couple of games so you can kind of take a look at. But also, what are you looking at in those games? I'm looking for habits. I'm looking for kind of the way they compete, the way they approach the game in general. I think is more important because it is scrambly. You know, all these the rookie tournament is always everybody wants to look good. Everybody comes out a million miles an hour, and you know there are times where the puck is a little bit of hot potato, but you know you kind of look for the guys that have pro habits.
How much do you take to kind of you're behind the bench in those games and just a group that really hasn't played together much, if at all?
Yeah.
Their communication, what they talk about, how they go about those things, if they're frustrated. How much goes into that? Just kind of, maybe saying, teaching them right, maybe not right communication, but better ways to communicate, or maybe their frustration level after a tough shift. What do you take from those experiences?
Yeah, that's our jobs, to kind of feel the energy on the bench and. If things aren't going well, address it, and sometimes you got to build people up and switch the lines, do whatever it takes to get everybody on the same page.
For following up a little bit on that, for Haltonen and Cagnoli in particular, is the emphasis to kind of see the habits and not so much the flash for guys like that who can possibly be on your team this year?
Yeah, and I'd say it's true for everybody, right? And two guys with immense talent, and I think everybody should be approaching it that way. They want to show that they can play the pro game, through their habits.
You had a chance to talk to Askarov?
Last one here.
A little bit in passing. I've been busy with the rookies, but he's around, and I've spoken to him a couple times.
Well, just knowing the general frame of what your roster is going to look like this year, is it fair to say that you really feel this should be a playoff team this year for the Barracuda?
We hope so. That's our goal. We still feel like development is our number one goal. However, development takes place on winning teams, right? And so we want to have some team success and get our prospects into those playoffs.